Welcome to HIListically Speaking. I'm Hilary Russo, certified holistic health coach and health and wellness journalist. This is an empowering place to explore self-awareness, self-love, and transformation through health, healing, and humor. By sharing life-changing experiences, knowledge, and guests with varied expertise, we'll explore who we are, how we got that way, and what it takes to be a happy and healthy grown-up. Mind, body, and spirit. I'm glad you're here. Welcome. So the question I have for you this week, what does creativity mean to you? Since the launch of HIListically Speaking, which wasn't too long ago, I've had a number of you asking me about the music in the show. First, let me say thank you for all of your support in listening to this podcast. It wouldn't be possible without my listeners and the amazing guests who share their stories of health, healing, and humor. It means the world to me that you're all on this journey on HIListically Speaking, and I am so grateful. On that note, it was clear when I decided to do this podcast that there was only one choice for a musician I wanted to tell the story behind the stories. Clearly, I made the right choice because the impact that my friend Lipbone Redding had on me the first time I heard his music over a decade ago resonates with many of you. And by the way, the song is Chandra. Lipbone not only suggested I use that song, it was the only song I had in mind before I even approached him about using his music. That's what you call synchronicity, my friends. It's been said that music and rhythm find their way into the secret places of the soul. Creativity is healing. It's therapy. And if you've ever had a chance to hear Lipbone perform, you'll see why that is so true. He's a one-man orchestra who's taken performing to a whole new level, weaving his stories of transformation with funky rhythms, catchy melodies, soulful singing, inventive guitar playing, brash humor, and of course, he always comes from a place of love, kindness, compassion, and gratitude. There really is no better symphony. He's traveled the world making friends and music, and he continues to give every day. In fact, a gift for you this week. A number of lucky listeners will receive a signed copy of the Lipbone Essential Traveler. This booklet is a companion for the traveler with the assumption that life is a journey, no matter where you are. If this gift sounds like something you want in your life, all you need to do is subscribe to my podcast and sign up for my Thrive Hive for a chance to take this beautiful booklet signed by Lipbone himself home. And there's a bonus included in there too. So stick around to hear more about that at the end of the podcast. You'll be glad you did. But don't take my word for it. Meet the man behind the music, my friend, Lipbone Redding. I am really excited that we're getting a chance to chat. Lipbone Redding, musician, friend, spiritual guru, pranayana, everything. I mean, there's so many ways to describe you in addition to friend. And having you on HIListically Speaking is such an honor because you have been really a part of my life for 10 years since the week I moved to New York City. I met you that first week. And ever since, it's like you've been a part of that tribe, and it might be that I haven't seen you in years, but just keeping up. I've even brought you into my family in a way, and it's just been such an honor to have you a part of my life and hold space for you. And I want that space to expand by you sharing here on HIListically Speaking. So, how you doing?
I'm doing great. The honor is mine. Yeah, really. It's a pleasure to know you. I remember I think we met at Jules Jazz Bistro and
We
on
did.
St. Mark's in New York City. I was doing my Sunday brunch probably, and you came with a friend of mine, and I was like, but who's cool and everything. But I was like, this person I really connect with, and so I think we've kind of just immediately hit it off and have been friends ever since. So
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. I knew from that day, I'm like, "What are you bringing me into? Who is this guy?" I mean, you lasted outside you lasted longer than that relationship, so
Well,
but, we're all it's all walks of life, and so we all have moments in life, and I'm just so excited that, we've been able to remain friends, and, you've come into that place where you're family in a way. My mom loves you, my
oh yeah,
brother loves you, I mean,
yeah.
but
Well,
who is Lipbone? People are probably like, "Who is this guy?" So
yeah,
if they
really,
don't know you already, I mean, you are a musician.
yeah.
You are, but you're so much more than that. And I think that's what the jive is really. I mean, the man behind the music. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I that's it's like peeling up a piece of paint off of the thing. You got to start with a little edge and pick it up a
Hmm.
little bit. So yeah, starting there with the musician is a pretty good way to do that. And
Hmm.
I was a subway musician in New York for a long time. I worked at the Museum of Sound Recording in New York, which was basically a big excuse for a bunch of people to get to jam every week, and we throw weird festivals. And so I had this kind of early introduction in New York into this sort of theatrical, musical, um, avant-garde, experimental thing. And I think that's what resonates with me. I've never been able to be in the box necessarily, and so these are just preliminary stuff, early things that just gave me permission to be the person that I am now, for better or for worse. And I don't know. I like to try new things, and people say, "Oh man, we listened to your record, and you know it was great, and we saw you live, and it was
Hmm.
great, but you did it different." And I'm like, I never do anything the same twice. I mean, it's all just like you know,
That's what's
it's
so
hard to
amazing,
catch me,
though. You don't do anything twice, but you also have such a unique gift. They say everyone has a gimmick, and I hate calling it a gimmick, but you
That's all
have a
right.
unique no, it's not a gimmick, but I'm just quoting a gypsy song, but it's everyone has something that makes them special, and you definitely have something that makes you special. In addition to you being you, the whole art of lip boning is something that I think is really really something I want you to share with listeners because it's different.
It wasn't serious at first, and then and now it's become like a second or an additional band member sort of thing. So it just kind of
Mhm.
happens, and I do a lot of the lip boning, which is basically I make trombone sounds with my mouth, but it turns into other stuff too. There's like outer space stuff, and there's kind of a beatbox element that goes with it, and all these things. I mean, there's tons of videos online if you were to go check it out and see
Yeah, people need to hear
lip
you, and
bone.
they will hear you
Yeah.
within my podcast as well. So
Oh, good, good.
that's a little treat. But the whole idea is it's not even just the sound, Lipbone. It's watching you. It's really the art of watching you mastering this really unique way of presenting music, and you do it with such spirituality as well. I mean, when you watch Lipbone perform, for any of you who have had the joy of seeing you perform, and even through listening, but when you watch when watching you happens, it really is a show. It's there's something that comes over you, and it's really
Yeah.
very interesting. And yeah, you like the outer spacing. That's interesting that you put it that way. But I remember asking you, how do you define your music? And that was a while back,
Oh
years
God,
ago. And you
what did
said
I
something
what
about
did I
that.
say?
I think at that time, and as we were always growing, it
Yeah,
was something like there was something you mentioned about it being kind of a southern flair. There's a mix there. It definitely feels like there's this Louisiana, New Orleans thing going on, but then there's this real like jiving jam session thing happening too.
yeah,
So I don't
yeah.
even know how to describe it. It's just
Well,
so in its own right.
I think the reason I initially was describing my music as sort of New Orleans style is because, I mean, if you've ever been to New Orleans,
Yeah.
you walk down the street and you can hear it's like it's jazzy, it's bluesy, but may define genre. There may be a gimmick, there may be a thing, but it's always engaging if it's good and it's authentic. So I think authenticity is really when you really become authentic. A
Hmm.
lot of times you start. That's when you really start to move outside of the box, I think.
Totally.
Yeah.
And just to touch on that, I remember us talking recently, and I wrote down a couple lip bone quotes.
Uh-oh.
And one
Oh,
of them
no.
one of them touches on that. It was the neighbor of authenticity is beauty. And I remember telling you, I was like, "Oh, I'm writing that down.
Oh, wow.
I might have to use that one day," you know?
Man, I must
But
have
yeah,
what was
go
I doing that day? Yeah, but it's true.
by the way, you said
Yeah,
that.
I did, wow. Okay. Well, but it's true. I mean, I think I don't know what people want. I know what I want. I
Mm,
wanna be surrounded by beauty, which is,
mhm,
it's not just a visual experience or a audio experience. It's like a spiritual experience. It's like when you go into nature and you see something that just escapes words. When you put your little iPhone camera up and it just doesn't quite do it justice. It's better to just look at it and not take a picture of the natural landscape. It's beautiful. It's like it transcends the moment in a way, and I really try to get to that a lot.
and that has been a growth process for you too, because here's a guy who was the subway performer, uh, for years and doing your thing in New York and traveling some
Mm.
with your tours, but you had some time in New York, and then you were like, "I'm out."
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I remember you also sharing when I asked you, I go, "How long were you a subway performer? When did you actually stop being a subway performer?" And you said it was
Oh,
September 10th,
yeah,
2001.
2001. Yeah, yeah. Because after September 11th, basically, I mean, the whole feel of New York for me changed, and I'm sure
Mm,
it happened that way for a lot of people, that were there at the time. And it seemed so unnecessary after that for me, and other things seemed to kind of be really necessary. Like, okay, here's a chance for me now. I need to go out in the world and travel and see
mm.
and create and just collaborate. I actually, to say that at this point, it seems clear, but back then I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I just got to get out of here. It's just, and sometimes that's how change happens. It just sweeps you off your feet. You've got no idea where it's going, but if you go with it, you end up in some good places a lot of times.
Yeah, totally. And you've had some amazing journeys. Every time you connect online and social media, which, finding you is just it's really a joy to see where you've gone. You go to St. Bart's, you're in Morocco, you're in Spain, you're in places all over the country. And this beautiful country in the
Mm.
America has so much to offer.
Yeah,
Having a chance last year myself to go to some of the national parks that I've never seen before. I'm like, wow, this so majestic what exists right here, and why are we not
blow
getting
your
back to
mind, right?
nature more?
Yeah, it
You
just
know,
blows your mind. Like
blows
it's
your
like
mind.
yeah,
It's
which
it's
is what you want,
it's
I think, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's
it's
what I want
spiritual.
my mind to be blown, man. I want to be like, what?
Right. But
And,
it's spiritual on so many levels. So,
mm,
that's where, you call yourself that traveling monk in a way. Just the backpack and a guitar, and you've got your magic machine, the magic
oh,
bus,
my beautiful flying machine
your
has
flying
been
machine.
my savior. Yeah, it's well, okay, for those out there listening, it's a 2015 Ford Transit with the solar panels on the top, and I've turned it into it looks like a little apartment on wheels. And I
I
travel
love it.
everywhere. I just kind of set up in these remote locations and
But it's
be
like
me.
minimalism.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so amazing. We're seeing more people doing that these days where they're
Hmm.
just I'm going to just take it on the road. I got my van. I noticed that a lot when I was in the national parks last year that
Oh
people
God,
were doing that. People had their everything they needed right on four wheels, and
yeah.
just the glory of living existed outside of the van,
Yeah,
the
and it's like
living.
we live in the age where you can be a techno nomad or a van dweller, and we're kind of, I mean, sort of to get real, maybe metaphysical, esoteric with it. I feel like we're transcending the third dimension, the time
Hmm.
and space, third and fourth dimension, so we're beyond that. It's like just the fact that, like, you and I are talking and we're kind of in the same space, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
We
totally.
transcended sort of this spatial element, and I think that's been a cue. Like, the information age has probably been a cue to a lot of younger people to go, oh, I don't need to be anywhere. I can be everywhere and be wherever I want to be. And so you just, well, like, tiny house or get a van, or just, I mean, I know people who one bag travel all over the world, and it's just, they have a backpack, an iPad with a keyboard, and, a bunch of black socks. I don't know, whatever they wear, black
Right.
underwear and a jacket, and they go. And that's they live out in the world, and they never are in the same place twice. So, but I think we're there.
Right. You're just adding a guitar and
Yeah, yeah,
a couple crazy bowls to make those sounds that you make.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I love that.
Wooden spoons.
And that
I
also
wooden spoons. I think. Yeah. I,
what's that?
I wooden spoons. I strap wooden spoons to my.
Oh, I forgot the wooden
That's
spoons. God,
oh
you got so many
yeah,
things going on.
yeah.
You keep you keep IKEA in business. Anyway, speaking of just having the minimal stuff you really need to get out there, truly a sustainability as an artist with you, and share more about that. What that means.
um. Well, I I think that, for me, I have my priorities first, which are,
Hmm.
to play music, and to create and to travel, and then also to support all that. So it's a little triangle. So you have, your desire and your creative thing, and then how you live. So I like to travel. I like to live travel.
Hmm.
That's just what I like. And then you have the financial leg for that. So they all kind of depend upon one another. And I must say at this point, though, I mean, there are other people involved, with my, sort of roaming and playing music all over the world. So it's not just me, but, like Karen, my agent, she's, also one of my best friends. She, I couldn't do it without her too. So so what happens is you get your own desires and things together and just start doing it, and, uh, trying to make that work, and then hopefully you can find a puzzle piece for other people to join in until you have a network of things that work for you.
Yeah,
I mean,
finding a community you mentioned is not a find, but a falling into.
it's true. Yes, it's
Yeah,
true.
love that.
Thank you.
And for
Well,
you,
it's yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, and for you, it's not just music. I mean, you build this community everywhere you go. You've got your backpack, you got your van, you got your guitar, and everywhere you go, you're finding a tribe of people that are really interested in wanting to be a part of your your circle, which I
Yeah,
can't even understand how they wouldn't want to, because people gravitate to that spiritual positive side. Hopefully, I mean, the kind of people I want to be around, and hopefully the people listening, that's where you want to be. So I think I think you're definitely building a tribe just by being that.
yeah. Well, I feel like, most recently I've been a little bit, there may be a little bit of cognitive dissonance in the Lipbone fan
Mm,
base at this point, because, and I apologize because, for years I was like doing this whole thing in New York City, and, uh, you know, playing in the jazz club, and it was like champagne brunches and good times. And,
mhm,
um, when I moved out of the city and I started to just roam about, I started to visit places like, yoga ashrams,
mhm.
spiritual communities. Like, I say that in quotes because, whatever. There's a lot of different definitions of that. And then, but I've started. Some of my music has started to kind of go that way. It's started to. I do a workshop now called Om Prana
Mhm.
Workshop, and basically it's pranayama breathing, and all things that are near and dear to me and are part of my sort of elements of my career up until now. I've always done. I had a really great vocal production coach in college, a woman named Tracy Donahue, who taught me all about breathing and stretching and how to maximize the use of the lungs and the voice. And
Totally.
so when I
Love that.
start, I mean, stuff you get when you go to like music, singing, and acting school, and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm a college professor as
yeah,
well, and I use that with my students. You have to practice breath.
exactly. And so, but what I discovered is that I could basically. I was playing for a yoga class one day, and playing just some noodly uh, sort of Eastern mode music, and the guy said, "Hey, you want to come back and do that? Just you, not the yoga class." And I said, "Sure." And so I started to have to go back. I said, I got to add something more to this. I can't just like sit here and play this stuff for like 90 minutes. I could, but I think I wanted to add more. So I started bringing in some of these things that I had learned through like my travels in India and my study of Vedanta, and different things that my vocal coach had taught to me. So I kind of mix them up, and I do a workshop. It's basically pranayama, meditation,
Mhm.
and 40 minutes of relaxing music that you lay on the ground. And I I thought, oh man, this may not go well. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think people seem to come away, refreshed or something. It's different for me and everyone. So anyway, that was
Well, I
long, but
No, but I wanna touch on that. I think this is what makes you again, there's a difference with Lipbone and others with just you're not just a musician. So what really brought you to that sense of spirituality, wanting to dig deeper? Was there something in your life that happened that kind of was that turning point? I mean, I know in my life I had that, which caused me to start seeking out more self-awareness and doing the ashrams and becoming a certified health coach and, the havening practitioner, things that I wanted to do to serve others in holistic well-being. So what was that tipping point for you that said, you know what, I'm playing music, but there's more?
um, yeah, it's a big question because I can't really say that it was like a pivotal moment as much
Mhm.
as it was sort of an accumulation of
Yeah.
ideas and impulses and curiosities, being and just my creative self. Like I think above all, my creative self was in these different situations. So here I am in India at an ashram studying, you know, ancient Hindu philosophy or whatever, and then but I'm still my creative self. And then so I'm
Mhm.
like, how do I interpret this into my life? So, and it didn't necessarily happen right away, but there's all of these questions, all the time. Like, these how how do I bring these questions that I have into my creative life? So, if that makes any sense at all, I don't know if it does. I just do it. So,
No, I think it does because I think about in my life just as in comparison, because we all have these, hopefully, we all go through this sense of self awareness, especially as we hit a certain age, life's happenings and whatnot, where we want to combine our passions with our sense of what we've learned in the world, bringing our expertise or whatever makes us uh, special. How do we combine that with passion so that we could really touch more people in the most positive light possible,
yeah,
so doing that through your spirituality as well as your music is beautiful. And you're a guy from like North Carolina,
yeah, yeah.
north
I'm in North
born and
Carolina
bred
right now. I can
Greenville.
talk. I can talk like this all you want. It's true.
I hear
Yeah,
you. I hear
yeah,
you.
yeah,
So here you are, this guy from Greenville, North Carolina, which
yeah.
again is still your home. You still go
Yeah.
back to Greenville when you're not on tour.
I
Uh, it's different. It's a different
Yeah.
place.
Oh, it's different. All right. I'm different now too, though, so which makes it really weird. I think I joke with my fiance. We joke, and I tell her. I said, I think I'm going to run for town crazy person this year. I'm just going to do like an ad campaign, and just this election, don't forget me. You might see me out there with a shopping cart on the side of the road on the corner of 10th and Coates Ants. Just wave, honk your horn. I'm running for town crazy person. Okay. Anyway.
Well, honestly, in this political climate, this might be the time to run for office.
Yeah,
we
why
need
not? I
we
got a
need a little
shot.
lip bone.
I'm telling you, I got a shot.
Oh gosh, that's pretty funny. And okay, so you just touched on that with the fiance.
Yeah.
Being this traveling monk, being a guy who's on the road a lot,
Mm-hmm.
how does that work for the both of you? Being someone
Well,
who's gone a lot.
well, we're both really engaged, like
Hmm.
not. I mean, in our lives, in our creative,
Yes, I
as
understand.
well as to each other in our creative lives. So we,
Mhm.
um, I mean, she's an author,
Mhm.
and she runs a store here in Greenville, which
Mhm.
is like the Sojourner Whole Earth Provisions, which is it's like the spiritual supply shop for the road less traveled, all the people who aren't Bible thumpers and stuff. They all go there
Mhm.
for their like prayer flags and incense and herbal apothecary and things like that. So she's
Love it.
really really busy, really engaged. She teaches classes and so I'm really busy and too working on my life and doing our thing. So when I when I'm out there for a while, like she'll fly in, and then we'll have a couple of weeks together and ride around and have a great time. It's like the perfect relationship in some ways. It's like it's all quality time that we spend together. So
That's beautiful.
it
I
is.
think that's really important too, is that
Yeah.
you find what works for you. And there's a really fabulous relationship therapist who I love listening to her, Esther Perel, and she talks about how the relationship really might be there might be two people that are completely great for each other, but they might not be great for other people. So, for the both of you, what you bring to the table and what she brings to the table works. But if you're not on the
Yeah.
same page, you might work with someone else better. It doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means you might be wrong for each other. And in this case, you both are right for each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
so.
and we both know that everything, not there's no permanence to our station as artists. Permanence to our stations as artists. Or as creative people. So things
Mhm.
change. It's very dynamic. People always ask me like, well, where are you? Like, what are you going to be doing in blah 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 October? And I'm like, I don't know. I kind of know. But I'm like, it's it's not the same every year. It changes. Like
Mhm.
my schedule changes from year to year, from month to month, and I'm just that kind of person. And I think I was very upfront with Michelle when we got
Mhm.
together, and I said, "This is." Actually, we got together just as I had bought my beautiful flying machine, and I was headed out of town, for my first big tour in my new rolling apartment. So
Mhm.
I mean, and I said, hey, you can, I don't know this is gonna be. Let's see. And so we like each other a lot. We talk every
Love
day.
that. That's
Yeah,
great. That's
we
what
see each
matters. What
other when we
works.
spend quality time
Yeah.
together. Yeah, it's good. It's nice.
It works for you guys, and that's perfect, and respecting each other's space, and respecting each other's time together, and what works for you is what makes it right,
Yeah, and this
so
relation really contributes to my campaign for town crazy person, and I think
yeah, you got one voter.
she'd be like the great town crazy person first lady. So I think we've got it nailed down. Yeah,
Sweet. Can I absentee ballot?
yeah, absolutely. Sure, come on,
Recruit all my
bring
old
it in.
North Carolina friends. That is
That's
so
it. You're
funny.
part of the
uh,
campaign now.
Too much. So let's go back a little bit. Going back to like your subway performer days. I mean, when we met, you said earlier that we met at Jules Bistro when you were performing. You were doing the subway thing. Prior to that, maybe a year. You've been out of it, but you really were already into that whole spirituality, even though you were still kind of in the grind of being that performer in the New York vibe. I mean, you and I actually had a chance to work together, and I thank you for this, and I still love this when we did the the video for one of your
Oh
songs, which
yeah,
is And
Yep.
I was your star mermaid.
Ah, my muse, my mermaid. You were excellent.
You got us.
Well, you were such
Thank
a
you.
good sport about it. I mean, I have to say, and Mike, you know, he did a great job with like the little that he had. You know, it was like some homemade green screen in
Oh my
a
God.
tiny
It was
New York
great.
apartment on the Lower East Side. You know, it's like, wow, okay, it's nostalgic at this point. I'm like, okay, it's
Yeah, it
aged
was
like
great.
it's aged like a fine cheese, Hilary. It's great.
It really has. And I think about that day and I'm like, here we are. I was relatively new to New York, you know, moving down here. And I'm from New York originally, but coming here from North Carolina where I lived prior. And here I am on set, and I use that term loosely,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
at this makeshift green screen and putting on this interesting mermaid tale that I think Mike made. Did he not?
yeah. I think he made it. Yeah, Mike is great for that stuff. Man. He
It's so
was
much fun.
Yeah, he was every year. Mike Gamatone, we call him Gamatone,
Yeah,
because he had a band called the Gamatones for a long time
right.
that I was in. We'd all dress up in costumes, and yeah, Mike would always have. He was the star of the Halloween Day parade every year. Anyway, yeah, he made that for you. Yeah,
Oh, it was great. But that video in itself, just to bring the video up, it really had a pretty cool vibe. The Buddha and there was a sense about it. What were you meaning to do with that song? Like, what was the real
uh, just
story
like
behind that?
the real story behind it is like there's always a choice. You know, even if there's no choice, there's still a choice somewhere. And like in any situation that you can make a choice to be kind or have compassion,
Mm,
I think is really, and it's not just for other people. It's for yourself. It's
mhm.
for the your life, the world around you, the planet, the creation itself. I mean, if you can choose a path of kindness in a moment, I mean, it's not always easy, you know, especially get out there on the highway and there's some road rage and people like cutting you off, and but still, there's a moment where you can choose to be kind. I think that's what that song is about. That whole video.
I That's the name of the song too, right? Want to be
Yeah.
kind?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And we're seeing more of that now. I think we are seeing more of that kindness and people wanting to want to be kind. Because really, is there any other way? I mean, love and kindness, compassion.
Yeah,
Those are the things we should be focusing on.
and I think the more you're in tune with it, the more you see it too.
Mm,
It's like the more it's like you attract it to you as well.
totally. Well, that what you put out, right?
Hmm.
So here's a question, kind of going
Okay.
back to Michelle and the girlfriend,
Woo!
or fiance rather.
Woo!
The
Yeah.
more personal side of things, this is funny because my brother and I had a chit chat last night on the phone, and I said, "Hey, I'm calling Lipbone. He's going to be on the podcast," and he said, "You know." What is Lipbone's real name? And I'm like, I sat there for like 10 minutes because I forgot.
uh,
And not that I'm looking to bring it up. Maybe we should make that a
no,
contest. Guess your real name.
it's
But it
Lawrence.
finally came to me. It
Yeah,
finally came to me.
yeah, yeah,
And he didn't even know your real name. I'm like, you know what? I never call him anything but Lipbone
yeah.
just a sweet affection kind of term. But I don't I don't you don't really share it. But
Oh
it's
well, it's not. I mean, it's not like a secret. It's like out there.
no.
It's Lawrence. So, but I mean, I have a lot of nicknames like from when I was a kid and stuff, and
Hmm.
blah 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 blah. But
You're
yeah,
kind of
my
like Sting,
yes, I'm like Sting. That's
like
right.
Golden Matthew Sumner.
Yeah, Sting,
Everybody
lip bone. Yeah, kind of like
right.
that. Yeah, I don't know. It was like one of those things where somebody asked me, "What the hell is that thing you're doing?" And I said, "It's a lip-bonic, euphonic, trombonic sound making."
Lipbonic, I like
Yeah,
that. Well, I mean, everybody has a story, and that's basically
yeah,
part of your story is how did you get to this name? Much like Sting, there's the story about him performing in the yellow and black stripes, and that's one theory of how he got his name. So coming to finding the lip bone, and what about the Redding?
yeah. I don't know. It just happened.
That I always thought that was kind of in homage to Otis Redding.
Yeah, maybe I'm the love child Otis Redding and Dusty Springfield or something. I don't know.
Oh, you might want to tell your parents that.
Yeah, right.
Oh man. So look, I think you are just such a wonderful being of light. It is such a
Oh,
pleasure to know you and have you in my life and share you with the holistically speaking listeners and just in general. I always look forward to you coming back east so that I can rally the troops, because I think there've been a couple times when I've been here and you've come in. I
yeah,
mean, there's been a birthday where I came to see you. I took my
yeah.
mom and my stepfather to see you.
Your mom.
My brother, I think you've seen when you've been out in California.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it really is building the tribe of good people. So
yeah.
if you were to leave a message, and in addition to, you've already shared the one about kindness, but if you were to leave a message about what life is about, what would that mean for Lipbone?
Move away from the things that make you unhappy and move towards the things that do make you
Mm, love that. I think on that note, we can close this chapter, and I
happy.
look
I've
forward
been
to
honored to be here. Thank you.
yeah, it's been an honor, and talking to you and listening to you and just knowing you is a joy. And I look forward to seeing you soon. And to our listeners, Lipbone, check him out at lipbone.com. You are in for a treat. What a treat indeed. If you would like a chance to receive a signed copy of the Lipbone Essential Traveler, which includes links to bonus materials of his music, all you need to do is subscribe to the Holistically Speaking podcast and sign up for my Thrive Hive to stay connected and, of course, stay positive. I'll be choosing 3 listeners during this week's episode. And while you're at it, be sure to tune in to Lipbone's live streams every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You can find out more about that on his website, lipbone.com. Thank you for listening to this episode of Holistically Speaking. I'm Hilary Russo. The show has been made possible by people I love and I am so grateful to have in my life, my producer and friend Alan Seals, with music by the man himself, Lipbone Redding. Please take a moment to visit my website at hilaryrusso.com. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Hilary Russo. Holistically Speaking is available on all podcast platforms. So if you haven't done so already, set aside some time to subscribe, rate, and review. Your thoughts matter to me. So let's connect. Until next time, be safe, be well, and don't forget to laugh.